Bleacher Report has cooked up some trade rumors for the Chicago Bears. We're going to react to them on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome in to Bears Now by Chat Sports. Kind of want to just list out what Bleacher Report did first, then we'll kind of dive into this here. They had a trade assets category and then a trade targets category. They obviously mentioned the number one overall pick, their top asset, which agreed. Outside of like the Mahomes and the Allens of the world, the number one overall pick in any given draft it's for sure the top non-player draft in the sport. Justin Fields, and then Eddie Jackson, which I have to shoot that down real quick. Eddie Jackson's cap hit this year is over $18 million. The Bears can save $12.5 by cutting him. The point is no team is trading for his contract. So that is actually not a trade asset. Now, maybe in some scenario where they restructure his deal and then trade him, could that happen? Yes, but not as his contract currently sits. So I'll actually dispute that from Bleacher Report. I don't view his contract as an asset. These trade targets from Bleacher Report, which we're going to dive into one by one here in a little bit, pretty interesting. Tyler Lockett, Seahawks, you got the Shane Waldron connection. Amari Cooper with the Browns. And then Donte Jackson, which to me is kind of the Eddie Jackson of this category of why is Donte Jackson a trade target? I'll further explain once we get to him as well. So we're going to dive into all of that here on today's show, get my thoughts on each little section. But, hey, perfect time to join the channel. It's 100% free. We'll cover Bears trade rumors all off season long, so subscribe, turn on those notifications, and never miss out on the latest on your Chicago Bears. All right, let's talk about the number one pick and the quarterback. We'll kind of tie them in together here. Do you trade Fields? Do you trade the number one pick? The Bears obviously have to make this massive decision the biggest decision they've had in a while, which is quarterback, because the number one pick does equate to the quarterback if you keep it. I don't think you're drafting MHJ number one. Obviously, Justin Fields is a polarizing figure. The highs have been very high. The lows have been low. The flash has been fun. The inconsistency has been frustrating. The things around him have been agonizing at times, especially in his first 2 years. It's been a bit of a whirlwind with Justin, and certainly if they move on and if they determine he isn't good enough, that hasn't been nearly close to solely his fault. I do want to make that clear. Now, at the same time, you've got this, to quote Ryan Poles, unique situation of having the number one pick in a year when you didn't really expect to. Like, sure, when you made that trade with Carolina last year, in the back of your head, you might have thought there was a chance that Carolina would be really bad and have a top pick, but the chances of them having the number one pick, not very high. And that pick has fallen into the Bears' lap, which is what's going to make them consider a Caleb Williams or a Drake May or a Jaden Daniels. Those are my top three prospects. Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy would round out my top five. You've got the likes of Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler after them as well. But I don't think anybody after Daniels and probably really even May would be under consideration for the Bears at number one overall. So what would you do with the number one pick in the draft? Would you draft a quarterback? If so, type D, or would you trade down? If you would do that, type T. Draft a quarterback, trade down, let us know in the comment section below. Now, something you shouldn't think about twice, you should just flat out do it right now, is download the PrizePicks app. Daily fantasy made easy. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Link is in the comments and in the description. If you're watching live, it's in the live chat. Use code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. I cannot wait for Super Bowl Sunday as Patrick Mahomes. All you got to do is get one passing yard out of him. You've already connected on one piece of your entry. I got a 4-player entry here. You can do 2 to 6 players with PrizePicks. I like Isaiah Pacheco to find the end zone. Deebo Samuel, I think he goes less on his receiving yards. Also, Christian McCaffrey, I think he goes more on receiving yards. Chiefs struggle at times to defend running backs catching the football, so I think McCaffrey could have a big day there. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get started today. Basketball's in full swing as well. You can make your picks there. You can cross over sports. And guess what? Baseball's going to be back soon as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get that deposit match right now. All right, let's dive into these trade targets one by one here from Bleacher Report. Amari Cooper, which I thought was an interesting mention here by Bleacher Report. You look at the season he had with Cleveland. 72 catches. He had a career high 1,250 receiving yards, which is pretty amazing because he's had a lot of big seasons in the NFL. 5 touchdowns, that average of 17.4. You know, once Joe Flacco got into the fold, he kind of would just throw some YOLO balls downfield, and Cooper came up with a lot of them. Now, if you trade for Amari Cooper, he would carry a $20 million cap hit with the Bears next year, which not that bad, right? $20 million for a guy who's been a number 1 receiver in this league, at worst a 1B next to DJ Moore. That's a reasonable price. You could sign him to an extension to lower that cap hit as well if you wanted to. I don't know what he's worth in a trade. The Cowboys traded him for a 5th and a 6th a couple years ago, which is ridiculous. It would cost more than that. I don't know if it would cost a 1, but at the same time, is Cleveland going to look to move him? What's happening with Deshaun Watson? Does he get back and healthy for week 1 next year? So I'm interested here. What's the cost? I'm not trading in the number 9 pick for him, but you know, maybe some combination of day 2 picks. Would have to wait and see. Tyler Lockett next up here, the Seahawks wide receiver. As we're filming this, they have yet to hire a head coach. Depending on when you're watching, maybe they have, but unclear how they view Tyler Lockett moving forward. Obviously, Shane Waldron coached him for 3 years the past 3 seasons, and he's kind of just been the epitome of consistency in Seattle. His numbers dipped a touch this year to about 900 yards, but you know, 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons before that with Waldron. He's been a guy that's found the end zone pretty consistently, 22 touchdowns the last 3 years. It's an average of 7 per year. Really good number 2 type of receiver. A little bit older. I think he'd be 32 this year, but if you want to bring him in, have him for a couple of years, you know, maybe throw like a 3rd-round pick for him. You certainly could do a lot worse. He would know the offense. He's a guy that runs good routes, gets open. So I like Tyler Lockett quite a bit. I think he's a guy you put in the slot and can get a lot of production out of. So pick a receiver. Who would you rather have? AC for Amari Cooper or TL for Tyler Lockett? Get your votes in down in the comments below. AC for Cooper or TL for Lockett. And then one I just don't really get, if I'm being completely honest. Donte Jackson. Bleacher Report's explanation was like, they could recoup some of that draft capital they lost to the Bears. Yeah, but why would the Bears want Donte Jackson? This one makes no sense. Donte Jackson didn't even have that good of a year. Tyreek Stevenson had a better year than him. Now, Stevenson finished the year awesome. I'm not disparaging Tyreek Stevenson. I think he's going to be a hell of a player here, but he's already better as a rookie. Terrell Smith, you could argue, is in the same conversation. Jackson did not have a great year. I guess in some crazy world, if you're not even franchise tagging Jalen Johnson, which that's not going to happen. At minimum, you're going to tag him. You could be interested there. But why would you trade for Donte Jackson when you could just re-sign Jalen Johnson? You don't need 5 corners. You've got Johnson, you've got Stevenson, you've got Kyler Gordon in the slot, and you got Terrell Smith, who showed more than capable as an outside corner, as a rotation guy, or at worst a backup. You don't need a corner. You could argue, especially if Jalen Johnson's on this roster next year, it's the deepest position you have. In fact, I do think it is. So this one doesn't make sense. It's kind of like calling Eddie Jackson a trade asset. Who's trading for Eddie Jackson in that current contract? I don't think there's a team out there. So re-sign Jalen. You don't need to worry about Donte Jackson, of all people. And but those 2 receivers, Tyler Lockett and Amari Cooper, definitely interested in their services. All right, guys, appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's Trade Rumors Show. I'm Harrison Graham. If you want more content, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back soon with more videos.